Well, welcome back, YouTube. This is Chad Ivan with some more updates on the 2020 Chevy Silverado 3.0 Duramax Diesel. I had the oil changed here just recently at 3,725 miles, and I wanted to bring you guys, I promised, the oil change part of the video. And I really wanted to thank everybody for the fact that I was able to get to 1,000 subscribers last week. For all of your comments, I truly do appreciate the thoughtful questions, constructive critiques, and encouragement. Now on to the meat of the video. So here we go, YouTube. First oil change in the 2020 Duramax Silverado 1500. One of the things that I want to bring your attention to is the fact that this engine does require a different oil than pretty much every other Duramax that exists out there on the market. So this requires the Dexos D. You can see the part number there, 19370-138. And we are going to be doing a oil analysis. So this is Blackstone Labs, is who I've used traditionally. I'm going to be using them again to be able to do the analysis on this first oil that's in here to kind of get a baseline, and then I'll do the second one and then probably skip a few. And I don't do it every single time, but I do try to do some so that I'm able to see, you know, how the engine's doing. So yeah, here we go. We're gonna crawl underneath, and I've had some requests for how, you know, what does it look like underneath there, so we're gonna try to capture some of that footage too. So here you guys can see the oil at the back of the oil pan is where the drain plug is at. And right next to that is the filter. So it's actually really conveniently placed, both of them right next to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and take the drain plug out, capture some of the oil as it's coming through into the little thing that will be sent in for oil analysis, and then I typically let this thing sit for a little while, change the oil filter and get it filled back up, and we'll be back on the road. And at the end of this video, I'll actually show you guys the oil analysis data that we got back from Blackstone Labs in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm not sponsored by anybody. Basically, I pay for everything on my own, so here we are draining the oil. I was able to capture a sample. Only a little bit of oil actually got on the anti-sway bar there on the back of the engine, behind the engine slightly there. The diesel oil is always darker than gasoline oil. It does have a little bit of a diesel smell to it, but that's more or less typical for all the diesels that I've had in the past. So just about ready. So here you go, YouTube. You can see the aluminum oil pan. So this is an aluminum oil pan. We have a steel insert actually in the aluminum pan for threading, and then this is the oil, where the oil filter ends up getting attached to, right next to it. So it's actually really simple to change the oil. And then one of the other things that people have talked about a little bit, this right here, this plate, is the plate that behind that is where the oil pump belt is at. So like some people have said, you actually have to take the transmission and you have to pull it back away from the engine so that you can change that oil pump belt, but that doesn't have to happen until 150,000 miles. So truly not worried about it at all at this time. And here's one other thing. This is the oil filter that you end up using for the engine. It's a PF66 is the the model number. It's actually a fairly small filter. I will show you here what it looks like. So here's the filter. You can see kind of from my hand. It's not a very big filter, neither in diameter or in height. It's actually a fairly small filter, but that's the one that's called out. This is also the filter that's being used on a couple of gas engines also. So like a 2-liter turbo, something that's used in the XT4. That one, which I think is also the same one that's used in some of the other CT4, CT5, all of those engines. Exactly the same filter. So it is small, but you know, I'm assuming it will do the job. I would recommend that if you do have one of these engines and you are planning on doing your oil changes on your own, I would recommend I mean, this was able to work for today, but I would recommend that you actually get one of the socket, the caps that go over this, and then you've used a 3/8" socket to be able to pull off the filter. You're supposed to tighten it 3/4 to 1 turn beyond seated. I was able to do that hand tight to be able to tighten it. Probably should have I probably would like to have had it tightened a little bit more, but then when you end up pulling it off, I mean, there's space there, but it'd be so much easier just to stick the cap on the bottom and then pull the thing off. Because this, you had to come in at a little bit of an angle, and you clamp on it, and of course bend up the filter a tiny bit in the process. But so that's another helpful hint. 15mm wrench plus some type of socket thing that can go on the end of the filter to be able to take it on and off is highly recommended in my book. So just finished filling up the truck with new oil and ran it just long enough to build oil pressure, make sure that the oil pump was or that the oil filter was full. And you can see that it's a little bit low on the stick. That is putting all 7 quarts in. Probably going to leave it sit here for the 2 hours that they recommend, and then I'll come back out and check it one more time just to make sure that it's see if it is all the way up to the top. And if it's not, I may end up putting in a little bit more oil. I only bought the 7 quarts so far, but I'm going to be running to a dealership here shortly to pick up at least my next oil change, if not my next 2 oil changes. So I have oil available. So here you go, YouTube. Finally got an opportunity to put the truck in the shed and change the oil. Just finished changing the oil. So I had 50% on the oil, 3,725 miles. And let's see what our 98.2 hours on the engine. So we're going to change the oil, and since we're going to change the oil, I'm going to go ahead and reset the life meter here. So in order to reset it, you actually hold this center button down, and then you come back up here and it says, do you want to reset? And then you click on the right button here, say yes, and then you click on the center again to enter, and now you should see it reset to 100%. So when I'm finished changing the oil, it's all ready to go.
2 hours later.
So we're going to do a comparison now. It's been 2 hours. It's been 2 hours, so we're going to go ahead and pull out the dipstick and see what kind of level difference there is. So pull it out, clean it, put it back in, wait a couple seconds, and pull it back out. And the level is, looks like to me, see if we can get this to focus in on it. The level with 7 quarts in there is perfect. I mean, it's right at the top of the hash line. So it does look like it's a tiny bit low if you check it right away, but it's really not that bad. So probably 20%, maybe 20th of a, or a 20th of a quart is the only real difference. So now I'd like to go over the price of the oil change with you guys. 7 quarts of Dexos D0W20 oil was approximately $46. The PF66 AC Delco oil filter was about $5. The oil analysis, which you don't have to do with the TBN, the total base number, was $38. So the total cost for this oil change was $89. And now I'd like to show you guys the oil analysis and show you what we got as far as results are concerned. So as you guys can see, this is the top section of the oil analysis report that I had done. There's listed there the make and model of the engine, the oil type, and the amount of oil, the interval that the oil was used. All that stuff is what you fill out on the little sheet when you send in your oil analysis. They talk about the iron and the silicone are high. They also talked a little bit here about, towing causes the iron to increase. In the description down below, you guys will see I've actually included 4 links. One link is for the 2002 Duramax that I had, the 2500 HD. One of the links, and it was its first oil analysis. All these will be the first oil analysis. The second one is going to be for the 2016 Chevy Colorado with the 2.8 Duramax, the first oil change that I did. And then there'll also be this report that you guys will be able to download and take a look at. I also have a Google Sheets that I'm going to include that will compare all of the results, and my plan is to continue to update that. So I didn't necessarily do the exact same consistent analysis reports for every single truck, but I'm going to try to definitely get the second one done and make sure that I've got the 2, and then turns out the 2002 I did it on a third oil change instead of on the second oil change. And here you guys, this is probably going to be extremely hard to see on the screen. It doesn't look very good during this cutting of the video, but it shows you the different things that are tested as part of that $38 oil analysis. And please make sure that you guys just go ahead and download the actual PDFs from my Drive account, and that way you guys can see all of this in much better detail. Like they said, the iron was a little bit high, and also the silicone was a little bit high. They said silicone is typically just from the stuff when they assemble the engine, and they claim that the iron could be from the actual towing. I'm not sure if that's really going to be the case or not, but I will be doing more of these, so we'll keep an eye on it and see if it becomes more of a problem. Make sure that you guys continue to rate the videos, and also if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit that bell notification button. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'm more than happy to answer whatever I can if you want to post a comment or you have a question. Thanks again for watching, and I really appreciate everybody's support in these video projects.